Hi everyone, it's Saturday. Kids have gone into town again, apart from my granddaughter who's watching a Netflix. So all is quiet on the Western Front here for the time being, so I've got time to do a couple of videos. You might be pleased to know, or not, as the case may be. This one isn't focusing on a YouTuber. It isn't focusing on a person. It isn't focusing on a race. It isn't focusing on a religion. It's focusing on fucking common sense and common decency. That's what it's focusing on. So somebody asked me recently, are you writing again? Are you writing? And the fact is, no, I haven't been, but I've got the equipment ready to start and the research ready to start on something. And that something was going to be, the topic was going to be England's next civil war. And a novel, not to be taken as factual because it's set in the future. And I've set it actually exactly 100 years after my birthday. So I've started it. It will be started at around about the end of 2049, which is 26 years, give or take. And I don't see any need to sort of adapt that or to push it forward into any future date, because I think we are fast approaching a time when the barons of England, which is all of us are barons. Englishmen, born and bred, we're barons. I don't know whether it applies to my brothers and sisters who were all born in Ireland. I was born here. I wish I'd been born in Ireland, but I wasn't. I was born here, and maybe this is one of the perks it will bring me. Baroness Anne. Maybe that's one of the perks. So the next civil war, how many civil wars do you think we've had? There's been quite a few. There's been the Barons' Wars, and I've got it written down. The first Barons' War was from 1215 to 1217. Second Barons' War was 1264 to 1267. And then 1321 to 1322 was the Dispenser War, named after Hugh Dispenser, who was a parliamentarian. And it was a baronial revolt against King Edward II. Somebody mentioned a dream that they'd had about Prince Charles recently. I think they mentioned it in one of my lives. I can't remember who it was or the specifics, except the fact that it wasn't a very pleasant dream. So, and then we had, of course, in 1640, the Cromwell's War. We had the Third English Civil War, with King Charles II against the Rump Parliament, and the Rump parliamentarians were sort of the leftovers from Charles I's first train. Anyway, these are the words of Oliver Cromwell. Oh, and how I would like to have said them or say them to Parliament. Oliver Cromwell, have done with you in the name of God. You have sat too long for any good. True. Depart, I say, and let us have done with you. Well, strong words, and just as true and relevant today if somebody said them as they were in Oliver Cromwell's time. By the way, they dug up Oliver Cromwell's body. How disgraceful is this? They dug up his body, smashed his casket open, took his remains out and hanged the corpse, the decaying corpse, at Tyburn Hill. I suppose as to deter any other who would be rebels. I think that rebellion is building in this country. I do think it. If I write anything, as I say, it's going to be non-factual. It's not targeting any specific group, race, gender, nothing. It's just based on facts, as we all know them. So, Oliver Cromwell, also called, the Speaker at the House of Commons, and they have a mace, the bejewelled stick. Oliver Cromwell called it a fool's bauble, like the little baubles you put on the Christmas tree. A fool's bauble. So, he didn't say anything about the crown. The crown that's got all these jewels. Has it got the Kohinoor diamond or a part of it as well in the centre? It's invaluable, incalculable, the amount of money that crown is worth. Does the crown belong to the monarch or does it belong to the people? Because we get nothing, do we? We gain nothing from these fools. So, I go one further. Oliver Cromwell said, Speaker's mace is a fool's bauble. So, I would say that the coronation crown, is a hair adornment for a jester. Just my opinion. Free speech. Just my opinion. Only joking. So let me tell you one or two things that are going on that have put a bee in my bonnet again. The average pay, the basic pay, I should say, the basic pay in England is £10. I think it's £10.18 an hour. It's £10 something an hour. And I worked it out that to clear £1,600 a month, a person would have to be working 48 hours, taking into account the taxation that comes out, taking into account the national insurance, which pays for our healthcare. Healthcare is not free. Alf paid into the system from the age of 15 to 65. 50 years. And he still couldn't get everything that he needed. 50 years. So £10.18 an hour. Out of that comes deductions, tax, national insurance, union, bus fares to and from work, their rent. Maybe they rent from a private landlord if they can't get property from social housing, which is probably fact, they can't. So out of that has to come their rent. What's the average rent in England? I don't know, about £700 a month. It doesn't leave them with an awful lot, does it, out of £1,600 a month? Doesn't leave them. Now, the national state pension, don't shoot me down because these are approximate figures. The national state pension, and I mean within pennies, is £203.85. That's £812 a month, approximately. £812. Let that sink in. When 1,600, they're not going to be left with a lot more than that, if anything more, for working all those hours after they've paid their rent, etc. So you'd have to work 48 hours or 2 months state pension makes up £1,600, 2 months. Now, let me tell you what Wales are proposing. Wales, not England, not Scotland, but Wales. So we'll see where it goes and how it goes. Wales are proposing to pay immigrants who come into this country from wherever it is, and we all know a lot of the immigrants are illegal immigrants. I'm talking about illegal immigrants who come in on dinghies, who pay, I've heard, up to £5,000, where do they get the money, to traffickers to get them into England. So what Wales are proposing is to give immigrants, I don't know whether it's the illegals or whether it's across the board, right? It's only what I've read in the paper, and it's all up in the air at the moment. But they're proposing to give immigrants who step into this country on English soil with no grasp of the language, therefore can't work, going straight into hotels, given so much a month to live on. Well, Wales are proposing to go one better and to give immigrants, guess how much? £1,600 a month, or the equivalent of 2 months state pension, as in what? Who's always paid in for pension and for healthcare, as it would have been for Alf. 2 months, that's the equivalent of 2 months after I've paid in the system all these years. Or a working man or woman working 48 hours and having to pay out of that £1,600 tax, national insurance for their healthcare, travel to and from work, union dues, and their rent. So this £1,600 that is being proposed by Wales, by 3 MPs in Wales, Julie somebody and another couple who I've never heard of, that £1,600 is going to be in addition, I guess, is it, to housing. They'll be given housing, jumping the queues for housing. I've heard of people being turfed out. A man and his wife and their 6-week-old baby were turfed out a few months ago of their accommodation because their block that they were living in was earmarked for illegal immigrants. Illegal, before anybody shouts me down, illegal. We're not talking about legal migration and where people come in. We're not talking about that. We're talking about illegal. And anything illegal is, well, it's illegal, isn't it? Just like it's illegal to sell dope on the streets, just as it's illegal for police to be called to a fight in a certain area of Birmingham in the last few days. Small Heath area, I believe, actually. Called in to break up a fight, and they were set about and beaten themselves. Where is all this going to end? Where is it? It's absolutely a recipe for disaster. And people aren't going to take it sitting down. They're not. Their faces, hard-working people, their faces of whatever creed or colour, they work hard, they strive to better themselves. Their faces are being rubbed in the dirt by these idiot politicians who allow illegal immigrants to come in and get more benefits than a person who's working a 48-hour week, or a pensioner who only gets half of what they're proposed to be given. In fact, they're pretty well off now with so much pocket money, clothes, phones, accommodation, food, heating. So I think my topic for the next English Civil War might not be too far off factual, although it isn't factual. It isn't based on anything factual. But you see where we're going? You see where we're going? And not only with that, people on YouTube, what's all this? Everybody's got, now don't come yelling at me and shouting at me for saying this, right? It used to be that people, I'll leave this for another video. I'll leave it for another video. But don't come yelling at me, because what I'm saying is true. It's true. It's based on nothing but truth and common sense. And if you can't see it, you're part of the problem.